Today I fucked up loving myself correctly. This today I fucked up actually happened today, Valentine's Day, like maybe 6 hours ago. So, I just went to the store to buy some pizza, sushi, bagels. You know, necessities. Anyway, I didn't grab a basket because I am a dope, so I'm carrying around my essentials plus some wine in my hands, not very well. I see a small pack of heart-shaped sweet tarts, only 69 cents. I decided then and there that I would be my own Valentine today. I deserve love, so I will treat myself as an act of love toward myself. I continue shopping, only to see that I still need some frozen veggies because I'm trying to still be kind of an adult sometimes. So I set everything down on a pallet of cola boxes, rearrange everything to be carried mostly on my pizza box, get my veggies and go. So I check out. I get carded. I bag everything up. I make my purchase. I put everything in my backpack. I make a trip to the liquor store and get a handle of Captain Rum Guy because he deserves a Valentine too. I get home. I put the pizza in the oven. I put my other groceries away. Then it hits me there in my stupid kitchen. No sweet tarts. I must have forgotten to pick them back up when I was rearranging my groceries to better hold them. I am choosing to view this as funny and not symbolic. Too long didn't read. I decided to be my own Valentine and buy myself sweet tarts because it's okay to love myself even if I haven't been on a date in over 3 years. Oh, yeah, I forgot the candy at the store. Cool. Make it a Valentine's week, so get all the sweet tarts you want. You deserve them. Hugging face, heart, second this. I appreciate the story, but it's basically I didn't grab a basket for no good reason. Oh man, that's shitty. Sorry to hear that. Happy Valentine's Day even if you didn't get your tarts. They'll be on sale tomorrow. It's never too late to love yourself. This is not the ending I had hoped for. The sweet tarts should have been on the pizza and got baked on. Your 0.69 mistake doesn't even count as a fuck up. I lost over $400 for listening to jackasses on Wall Street bets. Today I fucked up by planning a relaxing evening at a spa. Terror ensued. So this happened last night. I am still feeling somewhat spacey for reasons you will soon understand, so I hope this comes out halfway coherent. My wife is 8.5 months pregnant, and indoor dining is still largely locked down in our area, so our potential Valentine's Day activities were somewhat limited. We've been rushing around every afternoon and weekend for the past 2 months preparing for our baby's imminent arrival, while also trying to help her parents pack up their whole life for a cross-continent move. Why her nut job parents decided to suddenly sell their house and move to Florida a week before their grandchild is born is a whole eye-roll worthy story in itself that I won't get into. Needless to say, we've been extremely busy and needed a true night off to relax and unwind. There is a spa that offers sensory deprivation float tanks within a few miles of our house, and I thought it would be a good idea for us to go float into the void for an hour and relieve some pre-baby/psycho-in-law stress. The sessions are about an hour, and with wait times on Valentine's being egregious, we figured that we could call in a pickup order at our favorite sushi place which was just up the block from the spa and pick it up afterward. They said our food would be ready at 7:30, which should have been just enough time to get there after our session. Things were all falling together perfectly. But here is where I foo. I am not a partaker in cannabis, largely because I found early on in life that I am hypersensitive. When I tried to explain it to people who consume cannabis regularly, I say, have you ever taken an edible that was _way_too strong to the point that you are uncomfortably high? This is how I feel after even minuscule doses of THC. CBD on the other hand is non-psychoactive and completely legal in California where we live. I have used it in the past and it generally gives you a little bit of a calm, tingliness. I would consider it in the same benign category as herbal tea in terms of total effects. That being my experience thus far. There was a smoke shop, not a dispensary, An important distinction, in the next shopping center over from the spa, and I thought it might help me to loosen up a bit to get a new cartridge for a CBD vape that I've had for a couple years. Because we were about to engage in a rather heady experience of a float tank, I decided I wanted to get a really big dose of CBD in me before we started. I got the strongest one they offered at 1000 milligrams and 0% THC and returned to my pregnant wife waiting in the car. As I drove up and around to the spa, I had the window down, puffing away on this thing and blowing the vapor out the window and away from my wife, now eyeing me with concern. "Man, you are really hitting that thing, huh?" she said. "It's just CBD. It's not going to do anything," I replied confidently. As we pulled into the parking spot in front of the spa, everything began to go south. We got out of the car and approached the door. My wife passed by it and stood there. I was confused. Was this the right place? Was she having second thoughts? It suddenly occurred to me that I usually open the door for her but was just standing there like an idiot. So I opened the door, and the light hit me like I was being abducted by aliens. She began chatting with the girl behind the counter, who informed us that we were 8 minutes late for the float session where they'd have open space, but that we wouldn't be able to float since the rest of the evening was booked solid. At this point they started asking if we wanted to reschedule for another day, but I was stricken with a terror that I cannot describe in words. They were throwing out dates and times and asking what I thought, but all I could reply was I don't know. I wanted to run out of there, but I were trapped as a third wheel in some tittering conversation about God knows what. I was glad to be wearing a mask because I felt my face contorting into all manner of grotesque expressions. They finally decided that we'd just have to try and schedule something after the baby came, and I emphatically agreed. Anything to get us out the door. We got outside and my wife asks, "Is everything okay? You seem upset." "Sorry we couldn't float tonight, honey. I need you to drive." "I'm sorry. I've ruined everything." "Are you high?" "Yes, and I don't know why. How can they just sell this shit over the counter?" She cackled maniacally, making me even more uncomfortable. She said she needed to pee and we should go into the grocery store next door. It sounded like the most terrifying prospect imaginable. I wanted to hide under a blanket, but, not wanting to further ruin our evening, and with an hour and a half to kill before our food was ready, I conceded. It was just as nightmarish as expected, and I felt like everyone was watching me and I was nearly bumping into people at every turn. She pointed out some lemon plums, which I did not believe were a real thing until she pointed to the sign labeling these otherworldly fruits as such. She told me to pick out a few good ones while she used the restroom, and left me there. What was I supposed to get again? Right, those creepy looking lemon things. How do I pick a good one? What does one look for to establish the quality of a fruit I didn't know existed 30 seconds prior? Feeling very alone, I bagged up 3 of these mutant fruits, randomly chosen using no coherent criteria. I tried to do a lap around the store to kill time and not look suspicious, but ultimately hid out in the paper towel aisle until she finally answered my texts to come rescue me. My mouth was so dry I could barely talk, but I told her we needed to get the hell out of there ASAP. As we approached the checkout line, she got a very distressed look about her. She said the baby was doing something weird and that it hurt and she needed a minute. Oh God. She was going into labor. I, a relatively sober person, was going to be high as a kite for the birth of my daughter and win title of worst father ever from the second she was born. I was racked with guilt and shame and terror of every description. I paid for the few items my wife had accumulated walking around the store without a word to the cashier, probably still looking mad like back at the spa. He had been in the store for what felt like hours, but according to my phone had only been about 18 minutes. We went to the car and sat while we both tried to compose ourselves. She was having Braxton Hicks contractions and said they were likely nothing. Calmed down a bit but still struggled to cope with everything. After about 30 minutes of deep breathing, we both started to see the humor in the situation and laughed like crazy people in my parked car until it was time to go get the food. Went home and gorged on several pounds of sushi until I regained my bearings some 4.5 hours later. Too long, didn't read, tried to take wife to the spa, Bought some CBD to enhance the experience thinking it was totally non-psychoactive. Was dead wrong and ended up so high I needed my wife to rescue me from the paper towel aisle of a grocery store after picking out alien fruit. Terror compounded by indications that she might be going into labor. Turned out to be a false alarm. Wife claims it was the best Valentine's ever, but it will haunt me till my dying day. Edit, spelling, formatting. Well, now you know that CBD is not something to be fucked around with lightly either. Jesus, I'll say. My past experiences with it have been entirely benign, so I had no reason to expect anything even close to this. Guess it just took a heroic dose to get to that level. At first I thought you said my wife is 8 lol, had to double take. I am pregnant RN. Had my BF accidentally smoked too much and was acting like that, I'm sure I would have pissed myself laughing. She just about did. She was laughing so hard we suspect it made whatever the contraction feeling things were worse. I haven't seen her laugh that hard in years. For the first hour or so however, I did not find it particularly funny. Oh, I remember those trips in public where I'd freak out because nothing made sense and I forgot where I started and ended. Especially when suddenly soberness is needed but unobtainable. After a few of those I only smoked indoors at the end of the day and unplugged the phone. You two seem a good match to be able to laugh at the situation. I think my wife would have bitten my head off in that scenario. That really was the happy ending to it all. She was incredibly understanding and kind through the whole thing while I was riddled with panic, guilt and confusion. I can honestly say, I've never loved her more than after taking the role as my impromptu shaman through this harrowing ordeal. Oh man, I've been there. I used to smoke a lot, but as I became a father, every time I smoked became exactly as you described. It went from feeling like I could write songs and novels to realizing that I am a terrible person and don't deserve the breath in my lungs if this is how I was going to raise a child. Needless to say, I quit and haven't smoked in almost 2 years. Same here. I used to smoke every day after school as a teen and could function just fine even high. Now one puff and I feel like I'm going to freak out or float away lol. I have no idea if it's my body chemistry or mental health as an adult, or if stuff is just so much stronger now, or both. Today I fucked up by talking dirty to my GF. So lads, this happened yesterday and the fallout is just starting. So you all know that yesterday there was this thing called Valentine's Day. So this being the day I decided to have fun while phoning my girlfriend and talking about all the things I would love to do to her plus some BDSM ideas. Problem is that her twin sister has a room right next to the room of my so. Well, the walls are pretty thin and my lovely better half had me on speakerphone. Fast forward to today and her sister told her that she heard absolutely everything. To add insult to the injury, my girlfriend values her privacy, so I haven't met her family or sister yet. GF has a day full of witty comments from her sister and I am now dreading meeting her family. Too long didn't read, talk dirty was clearly heard. You poor bastard. Poor bastard reporting for duty. You know the old Gandhi adage, thin walls betwixt sisters makes phone mating bad for misters. Start following this universal truth, bro. I feel enlightened, I shall make that a mantra of mine. Smiley face. GF's fault for having it on speakerphone knowing about the thin walls. You can now start messing with the family. You and your GF make a plan to start doing the same thing you described but on purpose just to see their reactions. And, since your GF's house walls are that thin and her sister would be listening, you can use one of mine. I'm gonna pound you so hard that your mother will be jealous. Works like a charm. Oh god, why? Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. You are a person of great filthiness. Embarrassed smiley face. Doesn't sound so good in my language toe. Confused face, but boy do I like your devilish idea. Embarrassed smiley face.